If you are stretching constantly and still feel tight, this video is for you. Now, before I get too in depth on what we're going to talk about in this video, I want to make it clear that I think stretching is important, even necessary for goalies. You need that range of motion, you need that ability to make saves in more extreme positions, and stretching is the best way to get there. But if you're stretching because you feel tight, you're doing it wrong, and I'll tell you what to do instead. First, you need to understand that tight muscles usually don't need to be stretched. Especially if you have a problem area that you think you need to stretch every day, stretching is probably the last thing that you should be doing. I know this because that was me. I was spending over an hour every day foam rolling, stretching, doing mobility work, and I could never maintain it. The next day, I would feel tight again. My neck, hamstrings, calves, no matter how much time I spent mobilizing an area, doing trigger point therapy, and stretching to loosen these areas, I could never maintain that feeling. I wasted so many hours and years on this type of stuff. So if you take away only one thing from this video, remember that if you have to stretch or mobilize an area every day so that it's not tight, you should reduce the time you spend stretching, cut down on the traditional mobility work, and do something different. The way I train and live now, I spend literally 0 minutes doing traditional mobility work, and yet my mobility is as good as it ever was. You might be surprised at this point. You might disagree because this goes against everything you've been taught. Let me explain. There are a few reasons why your muscles might feel tight despite stretching every day. Reason number one is your positioning or your posture. For example, anterior pelvic tilt means that your hamstrings will be in a lengthened state. To feel good, muscles shouldn't always be in an extremely lengthened or shortened state. They need some slack to them. Think about an elastic band. If you stretch it, it just gets tighter. What we need to do is get rid of that tension by learning how to get the pelvis to move back in space. Simply practicing a tuck of the pelvis by lying on the floor and thinking about gently pushing your lower back into the ground can help. So can teaching yourself to do a full exhale. Slowly, without tensing your neck or your shoulders, exhale through your mouth and let all the air out. For longer than you think, practicing and increasing how long you can exhale over time. A 90-90 position with your feet on the wall can also help. Practicing your relaxed exhale while pulling down on the wall with your feet to activate your hamstrings. This can really be helpful for you. There is nothing wrong with anterior pelvic tilt or an extended pelvis. It's actually normal and necessary for all movement, but you don't want to be chronically in that state. Fix that and your hamstrings will feel looser without doing any stretching. Reason number two, you're not training through a full range of motion. A muscle can also be tight because it's short. If you never take a muscle through its full range of motion, especially with load, it will have no reason to lengthen and support that position. Think about your hips. If the muscles in the front and the back are in a chronically shortened state, they are going to feel short and tight. To fix this, use exercises that load the hips and take you through a full range of motion. For the hip flexors, a hip flexor lift where you drive your knee up to your chest, especially with a cable around your foot, can help relieve that tension, strengthen that area, and making it feel less tight at the same time. For the muscles in the back of the hip, learning to lengthen those areas with a good hip hinge can do wonders. For some of you, that will be the first time in years you've lengthened your glute, and it will feel amazing. Check out the Goalie Leg program in the description below if you want to know more. And reason number three is your perception of the space around you. Mobility is more than just movement of muscles and bones. The way you see the world affects your posture and how you feel at all times of the day. This is a concept that requires a lot more detail than I can go into today, but I have learned about it from the Postural Restoration Institute, particularly Neil Hallinan. I recommend learning from them and people like Neil. They are true experts, and I am just trying to explain what I've understood from watching their videos and reading the information that they've put up. One example is if we have a dominant right eye, which a lot of us do, our brain won't properly sense the ground on the left side. Our brain is afraid we'll fall. So what happens then is our left side, meaning our feet, our ankles, our calves, our legs, our back, they will all tighten up to protect us from falling. The treatment for this can be very in-depth. You can see an optometrist who can correct this with glasses, and there are many other solutions for this. But one thing you can do at home is learn to love the left side. Practice using your peripheral vision on the left side. Go for walks and swing your arms enough so that you can see them peripherally. Walk and look straight ahead and see parked cars and trees pass by you peripherally as you walk by them. Practice shifting your eyes to the left side and the right side. All these things can really help. Can you see how stretching can have nothing to do with tightness? It can work, of course, but more and more over the years, I've come to think it's less important than I originally thought. Why are some people more naturally flexible than others? Is it because they stretch all day? Not usually. It can be genetics for sure, but I think it can also be influenced by posture, by your strength training and movement, and by the way you see the world, literally. To sum up this video quickly, stretching has benefits. Goalies should stretch, especially to increase that passive range of motion. It can even help with tightness. But if you're stretching every day and still feel tight, I think it's time to try something different. I hope you liked the video. Please let me know in the comments. Check out our clothing line and training program below, and I'll see you in the next video.